Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome back to the Sound on Siren podcast. You are tuned in with your host, Imbali
and Keitu.
And remember, Sound on Siren is a podcast where we fortify ourselves from the inside out. Folks, friends, family, because my sister commented like 6 comments under our last video. So family.
Love it.
Yeah, I did have a little talking to them. I was like, y'all need to support more. I don't understand why you're not supporting, you're not watching, you're not sharing. And I know you're not watching because you're not asking questions and you're not doing follow-ups. So
shout out to my friends. They're watching. They're listening at the very least.
Shout out to your friends. They are listening. So remember to watch us on YouTube. You can subscribe to the Imbali Blooming channel. And then on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Follow us. Like it, leave a review, leave a comment. If you're enjoy. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. Let's see if they can support the things that you love and that you support. All right. So yeah. Hello.
Hi.
And I don't have an intro for this written down, but this week I think Mercury and Venus are both retrograde.
Yeah.
How are you feeling in that regard?
I feel like I actually have a not as mad of a go with the Mercury retrograde as most people.
Okay.
Because my ruling planet is Mars, so if I'm gonna go through it, it's going to be a Mars retrograde and not a Mercury retrograde.
Okay.
And I don't have a lot of placements that are like impacted by Mercury as well.
Okay.
So I'm like more of the same-ish kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
Venus retrograde is always interesting. I would say also I haven't done my readings or like checked in on my planetary things in a few weeks. So I'm also not, sometimes you can pick certain things up, but sometimes once you do some of the readings, you can then reflect on some of the things that have been happening.
Yeah.
So there's some of that I'm not aware of. But I feel, energetically, I just think it's coinciding with that slump pre-spring, I think, where the weather's in transition, but also like so are all of us. Like I feel like energy-wise, I'm kind of trying to get myself to build up more energy and do all these things. And it's just it's very on-off. It's very topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say in terms of also full moon energy, this is very like emotionally for me quite muted, but in terms of other aspects I feel like was a bit amplified, but wasn't the most hectic of full moons. And so far the retrograde hasn't been super hectic for me, but I also haven't done a lot of reflection.
There was also thinking.
Yeah, no, I'm sure if I sat down and listened and did some thinking, I would be like, okay, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay.
It's all right, yeah.
Okay. I feel like for me, I've just felt really sluggish. Come on, light. I've just felt really sluggish and like very tired. And that's how Mercury affects me, the retrograde at the very least. Makes me very tired. I know that Mercury is the planet of communication and all this kind of stuff and like technology and whatnot. So those things usually do a little breaky phone. GarageBand, don't do the breaky. But yeah, I don't know. I also haven't done my reading. I thought I would do it on my birthday. Like,
oh, you haven't done your birthday reading?
No, I haven't done my birthday reading. And that's what I mean. Like, I just don't have... I don't think it's really just the energy in particular, but it's like the energy mixed with the motivation to do that. I feel even the way that I did my vision board in the beginning of the year, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it in January, finished it in February.
I was going to say, though, you did say the theme for this year, or at least one of the themes is also taking your time with things and like finding a practice that steps away from some of this like self-imposed urgency that you can find yourself wrapped up in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I really I like it when my brain isn't trying to punish me for it, I'm still getting myself wrapped around it and getting used to it. But it's been a has been an okay one. I didn't really feel the eclipse much, but again, I also haven't listened to Chani. I read about some of my transits, and I'm like, interesting, especially that I'm finding myself in a place where I'm have to look for a new job.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, okay, transits, cool. You can be transiting, but I hope at the other side of the transit,
Yeah.
you have the 2 job proposals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have the lots more money
Yeah.
that I'm gonna be making. Like, I hope you actually have the things that are in the end of the transit. So, but other than that, I'm alright.
Yeah, we should at least I should listen to Chani at the very least. But it's also, I think I'm holding off for at least another week or so, because then I'll just go back and get the subscription and just do Q1 listen again. Because I think I did that beginning of year.
I think they have a promotion right now. I think
If they have one of those free things, I might do that. Yeah.
Retrograde thing. And I think there was one where she did it for the mutable signs. Yeah, she did a promo for the. But yeah,
I'll take a look.
Has one.
I'll take a look.
Time.
Yeah.
But no, we should do it.
Heavy on the tired though.
Let's get on the Zoom.
Heavy on the tired.
Let's get on the Zoom. Okay. So we'll move on to the next segment. Oh, do you wanna rate it? Do you wanna rate how you're feeling right now at the very least?
Right now?
Yeah, 1 out of 10.
Right now is not the greatest of measures. Because I'm so tired and I feel like alcohol did a number on me a little bit. So maybe like a 5 or a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is not to say that I'm like sad or anything. I'm just tired.
Yeah. And it wasn't even that many bubbles, but it wasn't that many bubbles enough.
But it's the thing. It's also it's bubbles. Like I feel that things like cider or beer or whatever, I would need to have like high quantities, whereas with things like wine or bubbles, even a 3-4 glasses,
really,
it's gonna give me tiredness at the very least.
Okay.
If not the slight headache that I have right now as well.
Damn.
Crazy times.
So you said a 4 or 5?
Yeah. I'm probably also like maybe allergic to alcohol. I don't know. Probably.
Why? What makes you think you're allergic to alcohol?
Because I feel like my stomach has a very volatile reaction to it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I would rate my current state at a 7.
Okay.
I'm content. I'm rating it on my emotions as a 7 and my feelings as a 7.
Nice.
But like my overall body feeling, about a 3.
Okay.
I'm not tired to sleep, but I'm tired that I just want to be in a dark space.
Okay.
Like a quiet dark room or something. But yeah, cool. Not bad. All right. Let's move into the next segment. Keitu, do you want to tell the people what the next segment is and what it is about?
I mean, what's the name? What do we call it again?
Siren Sounds.
Siren Sounds?
Yeah.
Today we're going to play a game. We've done it before, but we're going to do word association again. So I'm going to give a word. Balisa's going to try and guess or like just sing a song that has the word in it. So I have 3 different levels. So I have
levels.
an easy, a medium, and a hard.
Period.
There's 3 songs in each, or 3 words in each category.
Okay.
And then you can kind of pick your poison.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so our first word in the easy category is slowly.
I heard he sang a good song. That song. I heard he had a style.
Where's the slowly?
Killing me softly, not slowly.
I had to let you get there.
Lol, that's hilarious. Slowly. This is level 1?
Yeah.
Slowly.
Do you want a hint?
Yeah.
For a song?
Yeah.
I think Jill Scott.
It's not walk. It's not let's take a walk. It's not in that song.
No, it's literally in the title.
Slowly. Is it that one? I don't know the words right now in my head.
Slowly, surely I walk away from that. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Yeah.
I walk away.
Okay, maybe this will be interesting. Okay.
Wow, this will be very interesting.
Okay.
Yikes. Indeed.
Okay, number 2
Jump
is
scare.
kiss. I feel like that should be much easier.
Kiss me under the bitty barley lining between the green grass.
There you go. There's so many kiss options.
many.
So many. Okay. This last one, I'm like, it could fall into the not easy category, but I put it in easy.
Okay.
But I'll take cash or money.
Bitch better have my money.
There you go.
Bitch better have my, bitch better have my, bitch better have my, CRA better have my money.
Okay, so that was 2 for 3.
Okay.
Not bad at all.
No, not bad, period.
Okay.
I mean,
you did get, yeah, that's true. That's
but
fair
not
enough.
bad.
Medium, okay. First word is young.
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 Young, gifted, and black. There's that song by someone in America. Young, gifted, and black. But then there's the other one. The guy who sings Black and Yellow, I think he has a song that has the word
Wiz Khalifa?
Yeah. We're young, dumb,
And wild
broke.
and free.
Yes, that one.
Dumb and broke is crazy.
But they're
We're
all
young, wild,
colored.
and free.
Actually, I think there's another one that says young, dumb, and broke. I think it's Khaled. Not DJ Khaled. Khaled, the one with the I.
Khaled. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Khaled. Khalid, sorry.
Yeah, he had. Oh, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Khalid.
Yeah, or Khaled, but Khalid, because I think DJ Khaled is associated with it, so just Khalid is like the distinction.
Yeah, he has it.
Okay, nice. Number 2, inside.
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 Like, you know when you know the lyrics of a song and you just are scanning for the word
I'm
inside.
always telling you, I draw like a blank all the time with these things.
Inside.
Drawing a blank?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, we have like Inside My Love, Minnie Riperton, which I'm drawing a blank on the melody, but we also have Steve Lacy, Inside. Inside, tell me, is it inside? You know, that's an inside.
Wow, that's literally a song where that's like the key word even. Damn.
Yeah. Tight is our next word. Tight.
Oh, that song, In Them Jeans, doesn't say tight, but talks about the jeans being tight. Tight. Ew, somehow appetite.
The immediate kazal.
False songs. Tight. Oh, Janelle Monáe's song Tightrope. I forgot what the words are, but Janelle Monáe's Tightrope. Do you know what the words are?
Not to tightrope, but yes, I know.
You know the song. Can I get it?
You can get the point.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now we're going to the hard one.
Gosh, I didn't even. Okay.
This is probably the easiest of the hard ones.
Okay.
So, prison or prisoner?
Doesn't Sade have a song that has something about prisoner?
Sade has many a song.
About prisoner?
I don't know. Just asking. I don't.
Prison or prisoner?
Yeah.
This prison of love.
Who's that?
Nobody. Prison or prisoner?
Yeah.
Ish. Somebody talks about Nelson Mandela in their song, but doesn't call him a prisoner, but alludes to his time in prison.
Mm.
Damn. Prison or prisoner? Nah, I don't know.
Well,
Wait. It's not Thames. Who did we go and watch together at their concert? She's from the UK.
Lil Sims.
Yeah. Doesn't she have a song about prison or prisoner? Okay.
Well, a song you could have said,
Yeah.
which maybe, do you know Asha?
Yeah.
The Ghanaian artist. Jailer, stop talking to me, jailer. Stop calling me a prisoner.
Oh, I did Jailer
Let
Man in the
1,000
last
be the
one. I think there was
first.
the episode that probably will release next week. I sang the Jailer Man, and I was thinking about it, but all I could think of was Jailer Man.
I mean, but it says stop calling me a prisoner in this song as well. Yeah. Okay. Second word is prove or proof. You know, like prove it or proof.
The proof is in the pudding.
An actual song, please. You're just seeing expressions.
Prove my love to you. There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Prove or proof?
Yeah.
I'm sure Beyonce has a song with proof in it.
There's so many people. It's such a popular thing in R&B.
Prove or but why can I not think of anything? Prove or proof? Ah, shit, it's Cater. I was like, can I prove it to you? Because baby, this is your day.
No. If you love me.
Prove it
If you love me.
show it.
There you go.
Damn. Okay. Wow. Hard is hard.
Okay.
I'm literally 0 for 2 right now.
This last one is
Diabolical.
impossible.
Okay.
I'm gonna say level impossible. If you
Okay.
get it, I'll be so psyched. But the song I had in mind when I said it was a hip hop song, or like a rap song. So I'll take payroll.
Payroll.
Yeah.
Get that bankroll. I'm on that payroll. Got that money stacked. I'm on the pay show.
Right.
Okay. The fact that you don't even take my first answer seriously anymore is hilarious. Payroll. I mean, damn, can I sing about HR at work?
No, you can't just sing a song. Just make a jingle and say.
Payroll.
It is level impossible, so I'm not actually putting it for points. You know, 'cause it's like such a specific niche one.
Payroll. 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 Is it? Does Kendrick? Is it
Or
a
you could
Kendrick
do
song?
pay as well. Payroll or pay.
Payroll or pay.
Pay should be much easier.
Yeah, pay should be easier, shouldn't it? It's not about that money, money, money.
Once again.
It's not. That's the song though. That's
I
just
mean, that is a
Jackson's
song, but it doesn't say.
It's all about the. It's not about the money, money, money. It's not about the honey, honey, honey.
We just want to make the world dance. Forget about the price tag.
Oh, price tag.
Yeah.
Damn. Thought it was paycheck.
No.
Pay. You gotta pay to play. Can I do paper planes?
No, that's paper. That's paper.
Okay, give me one more second. Let me see.
Okay.
Pay or payroll? Can I do roll?
No.
Okay. I feel like the only thing I can think about right now, and it's like a poetry song thing that Shayo does or like has released about being paid or whatever. Like she made a whole thing, but that's it. That would be the only thing.
Yeah.
Okay, what's payroll?
I mean, if you know, you know, but Turkish Cotton by Larry June has a refrain that keeps going in the song. It's like, keep them on payroll, make sure your tax is right, you know, talking about life like that.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
That was quite.
That was difficult.
That was very difficult.
That was difficult. But you did easy, you got 3 for 3. Medium, you got 2?
Oh, okay, not bad.
No? Did you get inside? No. You got 1. You got 1. And then we're 0 for 3, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, that was fun.
It's fun.
That was very fun.
There you go. I chose difficult words. Now I know to go easier.
No, you did choose difficult words. And you know what? When I do it, you're about to cry. I'm just kidding. No, that was really fun. And I need to read lyrics more.
That's the thing. I always draw blanks when you're like, say, and I'm like...
Because you're just like...
You're going through a bank of things in your head, but you're like, nothing solid is coming out. It's actually scary.
You're like, I literally have nothing.
Or you're thinking like you got a song, but the word isn't in there.
No,
you know?
And my go-to, as you saw, is to just make a song. Because I think if I sing something, maybe something
It'll
will
take you
come,
there. Yeah.
But clearly it didn't take me nowhere. Awesome. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Cool. So we're going to move to the next segment. This segment is called Chatterbox, which is where we discuss something. I saw, you know me on Threads.
Right.
So I saw... Right. I saw somebody post this thing on Threads, and the responses were not like responding or anything like that. So I'm just going to read it. I'm going to ask what your thoughts are. So she wrote, "You're entitled to a childless life, but not a child-free world. My toddler will be on planes, in restaurants, and at stores. She deserves to experience the world, and I'm not keeping her home just because you don't want to have kids around you."
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts? What are your thoughts? T? What are your thoughts?
I think... I think there is a lot of... More and more people are going like childless by choice childless by choice, which is so okay. In fact, probably the most ethical thing.
Yeah.
Honestly. But I do think that in many ways, lots of folks, even some folks with children, tend to believe that certain spaces just like shouldn't have children. And I think there's actually a very small amount of spaces within which children can't be. But that's right. Like, I think a lot of people, you are entitled to your childless life and whatever that looks like, but not a child-free world for sure. Like, children are going to be everywhere, and children do deserve to be able to adventure and go out to stores, and parents deserve to be able to also take their children with them where they need to go.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that also sometimes that's going to look like wonderful and great. God knows that like children on a plane can be something that's difficult for everyone. But if you're having a hard time, I promise you the parent is having a harder time. They're not only like worried about, okay, my child is inconsolable, but they're also thinking, and everybody else on this plane hates me now because my child won't stop crying.
Yeah.
But it's just part of life. I definitely think there's a lot of accepted child disdain, which I've never subscribed to. I think you don't have to like children, but I think this active disdain that some folks have is a little bit troubling. It's a little bit troubling.
Taking it next, I think it's troubling, and then also people feel like they can take things to the next level. So like, I saw this video of this mom and her kid on the bus, and the kid was like standing, and I guess he was making noise or whatever. And this black auntie turns around and
don't let me come there.
Yeah, don't give me a headache. Don't let me. And I'm like, okay, it's cool. Like it makes sense because you feel like it's infringing on you. But again, the sentiment that you have, like if you think it's tough for you, imagine the mom, and also imagine the kid at that time. Like kids are not sometimes doing these things to irk you, to annoy you, the larger population. It's very directed to the engagement that they're having with their parent or the person that they're with at the time. I've had thoughts getting on the plane and being like, oh, I hope I'm not sitting close to a kid. Not that I hope there's no kids on this flight. And maybe there isn't a difference there, and I'm trying to like cushion my own, whatever about kids. But I think for me, even thinking about yourself as a kid, like you experience the world, You went to stores, you played around, you were here, there, and everywhere. So you had that life experience, but you're not going to offer kids to have that life experience as well. That's not fair. That also doesn't make sense. You're not going to find a place where there are no kids at all. Yeah.
And I think also parents actually are very, not all parents I will say, but I do think a lot of parents, like I can speak to my parent who was very mindful, particularly when I was younger, in terms of which public places to take me and stuff. And I do think now more and more we see particularly parents who are millennial parents or Gen Z parents being less hung up on like taking my kid here or taking my kid there. And we're seeing a lot more of like take your kid everywhere. But it's in the same way that people here will be more upset if there's a child in the space than a dog. And that to me is upsetting. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
a dog can actually harm people. People can be allergic to this thing. No one is allergic to a baby. The most a baby could do is be loud and inconvenience all, but like that's it.
Yeah.
And so it's just very strange. I feel like there's a lot of, if you don't like kids, that's great. It's not a child-free world though. The children are going to be in a lot of places.
Yeah.
I do think though, like sometimes when kids are having a tantrum or are visibly agitated, people can forget that self-regulation for children is not as easy as it is for adults.
Yeah.
And have very little compassion for parents or even judge people's parenting based on you seeing that child whom you don't know, this parent whom you don't know, and this kid crying on the floor and making all kinds of assumptions about what that family is like, what that parent is like. And as someone who was from a very regimented, routine, somewhat strict-ish when I was younger household, didn't mean that when I was in public, I also didn't have my moments. God knows I did.
Yeah.
But had people just made assumptions about my mother's parenting in those moments, many of them would have been incorrect. You know what I mean? Because self-regulating as a kid is just so difficult and different. And some things also are harder because sometimes environmentally, it is a lot. Like planes are a lot for adults.
Yeah.
Like we're going through it. You're getting swollen, you're sat down. Like it's difficult for us. Imagine what it's like for a 3-year-old. Like parents are busy having to pack the most. I've seen parents on Instagram talking about, I have a 5-hour flight with my kid, pack with me. They pack 70 million activities because they're like, how can I pack in so much time my kid doesn't fixate on all these other sensory things in a plane of like 1 million people. You can't really move that far, and kids being wanting to run around. Being able to like sit down. Also, maybe the kid might have some sensitivity. Like I still get really severe ear blocking and just like pressure things with flying. I've heard some folks, their kids rupturing their eardrums, like small babies, because of that. So like sometimes the baby's crying because they're in pain. And, you know, flying is a difficult thing. I think flying is so specific because I think that's also where I hear the most child slander, or like some of the most child slander.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know? But there's going to even be like family events. Like I've seen some folks get upset going to like festivals, for example, where it's like mixed, where there is alcohol and all these things, but the people can also bring young children and bring their families. And they're like, I feel like I can't have a good time if kids are here. That's not true.
That's on you.
That's on you. And also you just have to be like people who bring children to places where people will be drinking or doing all these other things. They know they just have to be extra vigilant with their children. Just because people will be more and more impaired as the hours go on and things like that. So there's lots of considerations that families have, and families, they're not hung up on you more than you are hung up on them and their child. You know what I mean? Like people are just taking their kids out on their families, and they're just thinking, how do I make sure we have a good time and all of us kind of get through this in a good way? And it's other people getting caught up on like just seeing a kid or this thing of feeling like now I have to behave differently.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think folks, maybe there's a certain level of like duty in some way that people feel around kids, like in terms of being a particular type of example. I'm just saying potentially that might be the thing, or also the whole thing of like, you know, people don't want to monitor themselves. They want to be free to them, which means like go to the absolute extreme. But I think even that extreme kind of behavior, you should be cautious to do that with adults as well around. Like just take care of yourself and have a good time. And you and I have a different experience of, for example, being like outside and smoking or whatever the case is, and like if there's kids or even other people in general, I will refrain and I will move to a place where there is nobody there, because I feel like I'm infringing on people. But I think that's my own internalized negative stereotyping of like cannabis use and all this kind of stuff. Whereas like there was a time when you said, oh no, but that's not my responsibility. Like your kid is coming where I am, so you have to take care of your kid. And obviously I'm not saying that you like waving it and puffing in the kid's face as an example so everybody can relax. But I think that, yeah, for me, I feel a duty to like safeguard kids, I guess. And I think it's grown the more that I've worked in the downtown east side, and sort of also just seeing the culture of the community there. When there are kids present, there is an alerting of everybody else on the street. They'll say like kids on the block or whatever, and then everybody will kind of stop, or as much as possible put away what they're doing until the kids pass, and then they will engage in it again and again. There's this like duty for kids, and maybe that is why people have that reservation for having kids around, because maybe they don't want to have to take extra care, whether it's extra care and caution of their own behavior or extra care and caution of the kid and the fact that a kid is there.
Yeah, I definitely do think with smoking as well, if children are around, I will tend to refrain. I think there's some areas that, like for example, the beach is big. If you're in an area where there's like quite a few adults already, or people set up and people have already started smoking, then families don't sit in that section, stuff like that. And also like I'll move myself if you find that where you're sat now, all of a sudden a family's come and they have a big picnic and this is kind of the only place they can sit. If I'm just me or with one other person, it's much easier for us to take our stuff and just go sit somewhere else, so that there's also just like more comfort. I think also like with younger children, there's a lot more of that responsibility. Like I think if I see a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old, I'm less likely to be like, I need to shift or adjust how I'm doing certain things. Particularly because contextually, kids at that age already have, this is not the first person, this is not their first time seeing people smoking in public or drinking or all these things. So it's much different than a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, So definitely I think there's also different contexts of like, if it's a smaller child, that feeling of that responsibility or that duty does feel more amplified than it does with, pre-teens and teenagers for sure. Teenagers, I'm like, I don't even think about it. And I don't even think about them as children. I mean, I know they're children, but I don't really think about me having to do anything unless I actually know a teenager who has particular needs. But in general, they won't even factor into my thinking. I definitely think there's a lot of accepted weird energy around people bringing their children to spaces. And the more and more we see people kind of go child-free and childless by choice, as long as people can still just remember that many people will still have children, whether it's theirs or not. Because it's also that thing of like, even if I don't have my own children, there will be times when I'll be out with nieces or nephews or things like that. Like things like that. It's also not, it's not necessarily sometimes that
godmother here, children, future children.
Are you touching the womb?
Godmother here.
Not the childless life. It's also not just about you being your own person. It's like in community. Like people who are strange around children will really struggle with being in good community with their friends when they get to those years, if their friends want to have kids. If you're queer, I think you're lucky in terms of you're more likely to have more friends that don't want children than you are to have friends that want children. So there are some queer folks where there really is that friend groups where people don't have children, don't want children, and they never really have to interact with children. And that's great if that's something that you want. But then there's also a lot of us, queer or not, who will have to interact with children in some capacity. And my thing with my friends, because I also have friends who like do not care for children, do not care for children. But I've always said, that's not allowed with my kids. unfortunately, you will have to care for my kid if I do that. Like, if you're in my life, you need to be able to be around my kid and think about their needs and want to have a good time with them and things like that. Obviously, you're not their parent. I'm not gonna, like if I know you're also there's certain aspects of childcare that are just exhausting to you, not necessarily like or an annoyance, then I'll know that okay, then I don't do this without me being there, or I don't this person can be great with the baby, but this auntie very much needs me to also be there for that interaction to be very balanced and also feel good for both kid and friend.
So speaking on that, sorry, I'm just gonna jump in here. Excuse me, because I was listening to obviously the pod that I have been binging.
Yeah.
I'm almost done all the episodes. I'm so sad. But they were talking about this kind of shared responsibility of caretaking of kids, especially in family relations. So where, for example, kids are brought over, usually depending on the dynamic of your family, the older cousins, like the oldest young people will take care of the kids, or there'll be like a handful of y'all in the family that are like, oh, this person is good with kids, so they'll take care of the kids. So there was this girl, a woman, and her family always left her with the kids, even when she had verbally said like, I'm too tired for this, I don't always want to be left with the kids, I also want to have a good time, I don't want to go out with y'all and have a good time, but I want to be able to do whatever I want to do, even if it means I'm staying home. So I don't want to have that sole responsibility. So then what she did is that she ended up smoking a whole bunch of weed, taking a whole bunch of edibles. She was high as a kite, and when the family and the kids and whatever arrived, everybody was so disappointed to see that she had, allowed herself to be in this state.
Impaired.
So impaired that she couldn't take care of the kids. But I guess in that way, she felt like she had no other choice, and that the only way...
They were clearly ignoring her.
And that the only way out was for her to do that, which was probably so enjoyable anyway. But I feel like what you were just saying right now about your friend is like the consideration of other people. Like, yes, you might want people to help to take care of your kids, to be in community with your kids, but you also have to be considerate. You have to be considerate of what that person's needs might be, like what you said, when they are taking care of your kid. Like, yes, do you need to, you might be coming to your best friend's house and dropping your kids off, but maybe every now and then you want to come with groceries, you want to come with snacks, you want to come with things that will also support the other person in taking care. Maybe you might even want to send your nanny when you send your 3-4 kids to your grandmother's house, like, I think sometimes these are the types of considerations that we can make, that people can still be there for us and know that you care for them as much as you enjoy them caring and helping you with your kids.
It should always be an asking thing. Like, if you're a parent, you are the only one who signed up for that. You know what I mean? Like, your friends, your family, in theory, they didn't sign up to parent. You did. So if it takes a village, yes, but also that village needs to be consenting. They need to want to do this. You need to just build supportive structures for that to happen, which is me knowing that some of my friends will never, quote unquote, babysit. Like, if they're with the kids, it'll be because we're all hanging out and the kids are there. And not just my children, but whoever has children at that point. But it won't be that this is the person I will rely on to, like, babysit my child, for example, because that's not something that they want to do and have ever wanted to do. And so that would be like, I wouldn't want to put that person in that position. And I do think also with family, just because I have a mother who's also expressed that she's not going to be like other South African go-go's. They'll do the thing where if they must take in the child, they will all these things. My mom from day dot, she's always said, if you're going to do the kid thing, I'm not the grandmother where the child lives with me. That's not the thing that's happening. I'm not going to be every school holiday, every weekend grandma. No. So like some of us have parents who've also already kind of set some boundaries, or like we've spoken in theory about what that could potentially look like if and when that happens. And being really much being on this side of, which if you're from South Africa, if you're not from South Africa, you might be like, well, that's not a big deal. But in South Africa, it's very different culturally. Like, grandparents play a very significant role, and are expected to in many families. And so for a grandparent to kind of be like, I to basically kind of be like my friends, where it's like, don't think of me as another caretaker in your arsenal or anything like that. I want to have a very big and important relationship with your child or children, but I'm not parenting again. I'm not doing any iteration of that. I've done my time. Quite literally, like, I've done my time.
And that's so fair.
It's so fair.
It's so
and
fair.
Even for like parents like mine, where my mom doesn't particularly love the baby stage, for example. You know, like that infancy, baby, very early years.
Yeah.
Tend to be like not. My mom tends to be like, oh, very cute, but it doesn't do much for her because, again, there's no communication, no personality, no lots of things that for my mom, that's where this can be great. So my mom's great with like a 3+ year old children, because then there's just more around like how you can connect with a child, right? Because now they're speaking, now they have things they can express to you, all these things, it's great. Whereas like small babies, it's like, it's cute, but it's just about that.
You're on your own.
You know what I mean? So it's also, I think, you want to respect the people around you, your village. You really want to figure out and respect what people's needs are within your village and seeing what that looks like. And when you go into parenting, you should not be thinking about, you know what, it's okay for me to have this baby because I know my friend ABCD and my cousins will be able to help me with my child. Because even if they you having your child, potentially people could help you with that. You don't know those circumstances as well. It could be that, let's say we're both living at home, right? And then you want to have a kid and you're thinking also, you know what, it's also great, Keitu's here, she'll be able to help whenever I need help or whatever. And then boom, I get a job offer London, something. Now I'm gone.
Now you're gone.
Now I'm gone. And I factored into your decision making. Like, it should never, I don't think people outside of you and or your partner should be factoring into your decision around having a child in terms of childcare. They can factor in other ways. Like if you know your family is tumultuous, you might be thinking, I don't want to have a child because bringing a child into my family means bringing them into like not a great environment, other things. Yeah. They can factor in other ways, but into childcare, you are the only person who's signing up for that.
And I think you shouldn't do it in an entitled way as well, right? My cousin was going to have his kid, and before his kid arrived, because he was not working, so, we were all kind of hanging out at a family event and whatever, and people were asking him, like, how are you going to take care of this kid? You don't work, the mom doesn't work, y'all are not trying.
He said, y'all work.
And he literally said, oh, no, the aunties will take care of my kid. I know my kid will always be sick because he has lots of aunties. And we were all just like, what?
Yeah.
And then the kid came, and very much so, the family had to take care of that kid, and the family both families still take care of that kid, like, and I would do anything for him, but only for him. I don't care. I will do anything you want. You know what I'm saying?
But it's still not something you signed up for, regardless.
No, it's definitely not something that we signed up for, and also the kid is there, and I think these are some of the things that are so hard, and maybe why back home in South Africa, that culture of it has also become like part of the culture and part of the fabric is like, when kids arrive, kids have made no mistake. They have made no error. The kid is there. The kid arrived choosing, depending on whatever spiritual, epistemological thing you're thinking about, but the kid has done nothing wrong to you, even if you and the mother or parents of that kid had a falling out. So you take care of that kid, because also kids are gifts and all of these things, and kids can bring really great feelings and, changes in life, and all of these kinds of things sometimes brings families closer or further apart. But it's really tough to try to balance those things, because then you get into a situation where folks like those then use the kid as a manipulative tool. So then they will message you and be like, oh, the kid is hungry. Oh, the kid doesn't have this. Oh, the kid doesn't have this. And lo and behold, you send the money, you send the whatever. Where is the kid? The kid is not even presently with them. The kid is actually somewhere else.
Yeah, and I mean, in our cultural background, we can see how that happens. But I see a lot more in the West of people kind of, that doesn't fly as much, It's kind of how you end up having more and more kids in foster care, all these things, because these families are also like, no way. No way, dog. Like, we don't trust you. We're not in any position to support you. You're not in any position to support your kid. The social worker is going to be like, you're not fit to be a parent.
Yeah.
Take that kid, and your family's going to be like, boop, not our problem. And then boom, the kid is in foster care from day dot. Like, there are some places where excuse me, that's not as common. I definitely think in South Africa, because of the social structures that we have, it's difficult for families to kind of have these certain structures in place. But yeah, and I feel like we've derailed from the original question.
We definitely derailed.
But I will say in general, stop being such a child hater. It's weird. It's really, really weird.
Yeah.
It's okay. No one says you have to love children. You don't like children, fine. But this is not a child-free world. Children will be in spaces.
Yeah.
They get to be.
Yeah.
Mothers, parents, stop feeling weird about bringing your kids places.
Yeah.
You deserve to be able to go out yourself. Like, you deserve to be able to go to the store yourself. And if that means you have to take your kid, take your kid.
Take your kid.
It's fine.
Like Keitu said.
It's fine.
Bring a kid over your dog.
Bring a kid over a dog any day.
Bring a kid over
and some
dog.
of y'all, your dog is not a shop dog.
Especially
if nobody
in the
told
restaurant.
you. If somebody hasn't told you before, your dog is
Especially
not a
in
shop
the
dog.
restaurant. I already have such an ick with hair, and worse, animal hair and fur, or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to be eating my taco and just thinking, because that's where my brain goes. My brain goes to Snoopy over there, shook a little bit, and Snoopy's hair is directly in my food. That is where my brain goes, and I'm just so very uncomfortable with it. You folks track your animals into spaces with you anyway. They're on your clothes. Some of you don't care. You're riddled in it. It's fine. I'm not judging you. All I'm saying is, you already bring your animal with you when you leave your house. Leave the animal there once.
Yeah. It's also like, if you find that you're more compassionate towards an animal than you are to a child. I'm not saying humans. Like, you can like dogs more than you like grown adults. That's fine. Certainly lots of people do, But a child, it's weird. Like, it's very, very weird. And I think there definitely are spaces that are child-free, So it's also not like you're going to go to certain places and it's going to be child-free. And if something is happening to where you feel like, okay, let's say, for example, your colleague brings their child to work. And your work is not a workplace that has kind of like daycare or childcare facilities. It just happens to be that day their partner had an emergency. They had to leave and go to work. Their nanny is sick, so they had to bring their kid to work at least for a few hours. At least for a few hours, for whatever that looks like. And you find that maybe that's happening a lot increasingly, then maybe you can have a conversation with someone where you're like, hey, this is difficult for me. And maybe they find an accommodation. Maybe it looks like they change your office if they accommodate the parent, considering their circumstances. Or the parent then really does think about like childcare options in and around the work area so that they can, you know what I mean? But yeah. I think it's people make it seem like it's hard to talk about parents if and when you're struggling also with a child being around.
Yeah.
But it's not. And unless there's very few environments where if a child is bothering you and they're a stranger, you can't really say anything. But often I find that if a child is being not just a light inconvenience or an inconvenience, but legitimately causing you some kind of harm or something, then there often is almost a mechanism to report and get some support around that or accommodation, whatever that looks like. But otherwise, it's just an inconvenience. It will also pass. Like children in the plane, you are in a plane for a limited amount of time. Even if a child cries a whole 10-hour flight, it's 10 hours. It will suck. It will suck for everybody. But after the 10 hours, we'll all be free of each other.
Yeah, you'll be doing whatever it is.
You'll be doing whatever that you want to do.
Yeah.
So yes, it feels like a lot in that moment, but also if you're still flying without noise cancelling headphones or something, like that's on you, poo. Not that's on you, but like that's another thing you can do as well. Is that there's some things that we have the technology to which we can kind of limit how we experience some of these things, like a kid crying on a plane.
And I think also like the kid is where people go as like, oh, I don't want to have a kid on the plane. But adults are also noisy. You have somebody who
Yeah.
chews loudly. You
Yeah.
have somebody who is coughing. Somebody who
Snoring.
might be sick as well that's on the flight that shouldn't be on the flight, snoring. You have somebody that might not necessarily have a good odor about them, especially their feet as well, because that happens quite a bit.
Quite
and
a
people
lot
get
on
a bit
planes.
comfortable to take out your never been washed feet before,
Yeah.
and then be doing this. I'm wiggling my toes. Be letting the gas that's trapped in there escape. Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But I think there's so many things on things like on flights and things like that, those that can be an inconvenience and annoying, and it's not just the kid, but I think people gravitate to, oh, kids are the worst thing to have on the flight, where it's like, no, there's been no kids on a flight, and I've had a horrible experience being on a flight as well. So just be compassionate and give a damn, but also you have the option to remove yourself. You have the option. Yes, it's inconvenient for you to have to move and leave, but you have that option. That's one thing you can definitely control, to remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
So,
And some places are definitely more child friendly than others.
yeah.
So I don't want to invalidate some places where really it might be difficult for people with children to feel that they can go to places, because there are certain places that, yeah, people will be weird. They'll come up to parents and feel that they can say anything and everything.
That's
another
mad.
thing that's crazy to me. Going up to a parent and giving unsolicited advice, or unsolicited telling them you shouldn't have brought a child here, all these things. Y'all are weirdos.
That's mad.
Y'all are such weirdos, and you don't even
weirdos.
realize, and you feel entitled to this, to all spaces. Like
Yeah.
I think sometimes with people feeling like all these places need to be child free, it's such an entitlement as well. Like, why do you feel entitled to your experience of quietness
Exactly.
or whatever? Like, why is that a thing? Like, it's
Exactly.
also coming from a place of entitledness, in as much as they can be like, why does everybody feel like they can take their kid anywhere? Like, no, they don't feel like they can take their kid anywhere, and in fact they don't take their kid anywhere.
Yeah.
But why do you feel like anywhere you go there shouldn't be children?
That's mad.
Let's evaluate that as well.
That's mad
I
behavior.
think there's places where parties where people with children can be wrong, but certainly child-free people can also be very wrong and have very little grace and compassion for parents
Yeah.
in many circumstances.
Yeah. And like, don't yell at somebody's child. You know, don't be yelling at somebody's child, especially if you're that far out of someone's quote unquote village. You know, like I think of it like at home, for example, in my neighborhood. Whether you are on the east side of the neighborhood, the west side of the neighborhood, the north or the south, wherever you are in the proximity of that deep kloof, even spread through all the zones, the uncles, the aunties, they will shout at you if you're doing something crazy. They will tell you off if you're doing something crazy. But that is within the quote unquote consenting village that you were talking about before, because that's just something that we grew up around. You know, you do something, go phase one, the moment you get home, go phase two, your parents already know about it, you know. So like, I think it's important to also not feel entitled to like deal with the kid. I think go and deal with or talk to the parent. Ask, are you okay? Can I help you? Do you need some support in this time? If the parent says, leave me alone, then you leave them alone. But don't ever go to the kid first instead of going to the parent, unless the kid is in danger of anything. But for me, I feel like that would be the protocol or the principle that I'd follow.
Yeah.
It's like parent first, kid last. If
Yeah, and for
ever.
some people, they just don't do that.
That's wild.
You know,
That's
like they
wild.
see the crying baby and they go to the baby, oh la lang. Meanwhile, the baby is one. They don't speak. They could be crying for many reasons. So, like, why are you asking a 1-year-old? But anyway.
It's just mad. All right.
Anyway, I do think that whatever that person posted, yes, that's correct. That's correct. I agree.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to move to the next segment. This is called Upele Pele, which is where I read something off the internet. And today we're talking about an inheritance dilemma.
Okay.
Okay? So, the title is, Should I Keep My Inheritance a Secret from My Financially... Should I keep my inheritance a secret from my financially struggling sibling? I, 35-year-old female,
Yep.
recently inherited a significant sum of money from my late aunt, who was very close to me but not to my brother, Jake, who's 32. My aunt made it clear in her will that the money was only meant for me because she didn't approve of Jake's lifestyle and financial irresponsibility.
Okay.
Jake has been struggling with debt for years, partly due to poor decisions and partly due to bad luck. He has no idea that I received this inheritance, and I've been debating whether or not I should tell him. On one hand, I know that if he knew, he would expect me to help him out financially, which could potentially drain a good portion of what was received. On the other hand, I feel guilty keeping such a large sum of money secret while knowing how much he's struggling. If I tell him, it could lead to tension or a fallout if I decide not to share the money. But if I don't tell him, I'm not sure I can live with the guilt, knowing that I could make his life easier, but I'm choosing not to. Should I keep the inheritance a secret, or should I come clean and risk the consequences? The consequences.
Interesting.
Very interesting. What do you think? Should she keep her inheritance a secret, given her brother's...
I don't quite understand this guilt that she has, honestly, to be fair. When she's like, she doesn't know if she can live with the guilt if she doesn't tell him. I don't really know why that is the case. Maybe the guilt is that it's in the I could have helped him.
Yeah.
Which you can help him without telling him.
True.
He doesn't need to know that the money that you're giving him, if you choose to give him money, that instance is from an inheritance. You can just say, like, hey, bro, I have a bit of extra money right now. Just wanted to give you this because I know you're struggling. And then you can kind of do that if you want to do a once-off thing, or you can figure out, like, you want to allocate this much from your inheritance to kind of put that as your Jake fund, and that if and when Jake asks you for money, because it does kind of sound like it's inevitable, that you kind of have money saved aside from your inheritance to which you can send Jake. And then when that sum runs out, it runs out. Then you know you don't give more to Jake because you allocated that much, and then this much is for you. And you don't have to tell him. I think this, if the guilt is in that, like, you feel like he needs to know and you have to share it, then you can tell him, but also you don't have to tell him the amount. You can just say, I got some money from our aunt as an inheritance. You know, her and I were really close. And I just wanted to tell you. I mean, I don't really think you need to, but if you want to, you can. If you feel like you need to disclose this whole thing, it sounds to me like you feel like you need to just tell him how much money you have, which is weird. Like, I don't think you need to do that. If you want to help your brother and you have a sum of money, it's not contingent on you disclosing how and why you have that money. You can just help your brother out. And if you feel like you're going to tell him how much you have, then he might feel entitled to some kind of extra support because now you've told him how much you have. And if he knows that you have, let's say, $100,000, and meanwhile you only give him $5,000, he might be like, that's crazy. But if you just give him what you feel like you want to give him, and that's the most you can give, then give without the context. I would say that's how I would go about it if that was the case.
I definitely think we're missing some context, at least for myself. Like, something that I'm thinking about is, yes, maybe Jake is struggling with money and financially, but maybe she could not have been also, maybe she was not well to do, you know, in terms of money.
And this inheritance
so she might feel
things.
that the inheritance will change things, and maybe will change things about her life that might be visible to Jake, that she feels might need an explanation at some point. So, like, I don't know, maybe she's able to buy a house where she was living in a different place, or, you know, maybe she's able to, quote unquote, level her life up, and she might feel guilty that he might see that and then also ask her questions. But I do get also the hint of a flossiness, like wanting to say, oh, I got this money and I have so much money, but, like, I'm not giving you any of this money because I don't trust you financially. Like, it's kind of hard to read, obviously, on a Threads thing, what the tone was in what she said. But for me, if I was this person and I knew that my brother was struggling, I think I would do what you had suggested, like, have a portion that was reserved for him, but not have to tell that I have gotten the inheritance, especially if they weren't close already. There might already be some. And if that aunt
explicitly said, like, I didn't give your brother money because I don't trust his financial decisions. That was your aunt's, like, very explicit thing, right, as well. So it's also that thing of, if it does level your life up, that's fine. That's fantastic. That's great. Your aunt was able to do this for you. That's great. Guys, we're not responsible for our siblings. Like, you can help your sibling out a lot, but ultimately, especially like, because I've had family members where they at every turn will make the financially irresponsible decision. Even if the responsible decision is the easiest decision to make, they will make the financially irresponsible decision. And so if you're a family where you're kind of constantly bailing someone out, it can be exhausting to do that kind of work. And they can really start to feel entitled to that bailout, you know, and that can cause already like a huge fracture. So I think also these things are dependent on if there's already tension around financial support with the brother, or the expectation of it already, telling him might exacerbate that for you, which could be exhausting. Like, why would you put yourself in that circumstance? I really do think the guilt should just be in the thing of like, I want to help him, and if you want to help him, you can help him without telling him. If the guilt is in that like you feel he needs to know, that's weird. Let me not say that's weird, but like I don't quite understand that. I don't quite understand that, because I think when you look at the bigger context, who does it benefit him knowing that you have 100, whatever the money is? Let's say, how does it benefit him knowing that you have that large sum of money and you can only give him a portion? It doesn't benefit him. Whereas if you just say, I'm giving you this much money because I got some money recently and I wanted to help you out, or you allocate this much and then every time you ask me for money, you can take from that little pool of money. But like, I don't think it benefits anyone to feel that you have to disclose this big thing and share how much it was and boop, boop, boop. It's weird.
And maybe the guilt is also like what she said. She said that some of his bad financial decisions have been half bad choices and half bad luck. So maybe the bad luck aspect is where she's feeling like, my brother doesn't always do these things to himself. He doesn't always get him like it's not always his bad choice or his bad doing. Like maybe sometimes he was trying to do something and he just made a bad investment, as an example.
It happens,
and it happens to folks. So maybe that's where another level of the guilt comes in.
People get scammed, people get exploited. But
definitely being my brother's keeper or being my sister's keeper, that idea of like being responsible for your siblings is huge. I mean, I have that with my younger brother, you know. I would give anything for my younger brother, but I wouldn't put myself in a bad place to care for my younger brother, as an example, or even like my oldest sisters, but
or anyone we can all feel responsibility to support our family members, but again, it shouldn't be to the detriment of our own life and circumstances where you are now going hungry because you want to make sure that your family has a particular thing. Like, that's a bit to an extreme. Certainly people do it all the time. They overextend themselves all the time to help out their families. It's not particularly healthy. But I definitely think if this money has been able to change your circumstances, think about yourself first. And then think about like really realistically, how much can you really help your brother in terms of like how much money can you physically give him without overextending yourself, and then allowing yourself to do all the things that you want to do with your inheritance, because ultimately it's yours. It's not. But again, with some of these things with family, everybody can feel like family money is family money, especially when someone dies. Like people can feel like an inheritance should be everyone's, even if wills are very specific as to who gets the money. But legally, you're protected. Like, because it's your inheritance, legally you're protected. You don't have to share. Like, it's confidential. No one will know unless you tell them, and you don't have to share more than you want to share. So I think it's that thing of, you can, if there's lots of guilt living with you, you can share to the point to where it eases your guilt. But if you're gonna share everything and it's actually gonna be to the detriment of your relationship with your brother, then why are you doing that?
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary. And I think also guilt is such a personal feeling. Go to therapy. You're feeling guilt? Go to therapy. Don't think about your brother, blah, blah, blah. No, you're feeling guilt. Go to therapy. Talk about why you might be feeling guilt. Why do you feel blah, blah, blah. Do it like that. It's such an internal feeling. You know what I mean? There's ways in which we should feel guilt and remorse if we harm other people. But you've done no harm here, so why are you feeling guilt? And why are you putting that as a thing of like, I don't know that I can live with myself? That sounds like you need to go to therapy work, not actually need to go tell your brother. Because I don't actually think telling your brother if you're feeling this guilt will alleviate the guilt.
No.
I don't think it could or it would, because why are you feeling guilt about something that you're not guilty of?
Yeah, maybe, I mean, I don't want this to go on for forever, dissecting this
Is
dilemma.
the guilt the secrecy?
But I just feel like maybe the guilt is the secrecy, and also because the brother has been in such financial higgy-haga
Yeah.
this whole time periodically, it might also be a case of like family relations, and a lot of people might have abandoned him, left him, stopped helping him for whatever reason, valid or otherwise. But there might already have been such a huge, let's remove ourselves as far as we can from Jake and Jake's financial issues, even though we love him and we whatever, all this other stuff. Maybe she feels like she's his only hope. Maybe she feels like she's the last person in the family that really cares and maybe might understand and have a deeper relationship and understanding of her brother, where this consideration of sharing with him is there, and so the not sharing maybe makes her feel like she's also abandoning him. But what you're saying is true, because that is a personal problem, or it's like a personal feeling rather, and it's something that you can work through as well. And maybe that's the conversation you have with your brother, and not about the inheritance. Maybe the conversation is, hey, I actually feel really, really bad that a lot of our family has kind of left you or abandoned you, and I don't want to abandon you, but there's also only so much that I can do for you. And maybe that's the conversation to be had about the dynamic of the relationship, especially pertaining to finances. Then I have a whole bunch of money, and even though I have a whole bunch of money, I can't give you a lot of this money.
The other thing that's probably bigger, what you mentioned, is I feel bad that my life is so much better now than yours is. And I feel like it's my responsibility to, like, if I'm having a good life financially or whatever, that I should be then looking onto you and making sure that you're having that, right? And I think that happens a lot with siblings, where somebody gets, like, where people have varying levels of financial stability, and maybe there's some guilt there. I mean, I don't particularly think I would have lots of guilt for my own financial circumstances compared to my siblings, for example, because we all have different reasons as to where we're at and why we're there. If my sibling needs help and I'm in a position to help my sibling, I will always help my sibling. But that's because of, like, having a good relationship. I think that changes if I don't have a good relationship with a sibling. I think it's okay if you don't have a good relationship with a sibling or a family member to not feel like you want to support them. I think that's totally okay. But if there's also, I do think that people can experience lots of guilt of this feeling of, like, so much is going good in my life and so much isn't going well in your life, and that can be a place of guilt. But I actually think that's very I think that's quite patronizing, that sentiment, it's very, I think it's comes from a place of a savior complex, if anything, this feeling of, like, I just can't be doing so much better, and people aren't, like, if you can help your siblings, help them, but it shouldn't be this thing as well of, I'm feeling guilty because I'm here, you're not. Because we're all on different journeys, and we all have different goals, and we all have different ideas of what financial success looks like. Your brother might even be looking at you thinking, "I'll skepsel," like, damn, and you're thinking, like, ooh,
might be thinking, you're making all these,
because they're looking at your life and they're thinking you're
like,
exactly,
this person doesn't take risks, doesn't enjoy life.
They think you're
no
boring.
Adventure.
Exactly. Like, why would you buy a house when you could have done this? Why would you do this? And so it's also, like, I think sometimes when people have that particular guilt around, like, my life is like this person is like that, I don't get it. It's that there's so many assumptions around, like, what's good financial, whatever. What we want different things. We want different things. Don't assume also that, like, don't even assume that when you give your brother that money that he's going to pay off his debt. Because that's the thing with, like, definitely in certain contexts I've seen where that somebody has a lot of debt, and then when you give them money, you're expecting for them to use that to pay off debt, and then they don't do that.
No.
Which, again, when you give somebody money, you don't get to decide how they use that money. You really don't. Like, they can tell you it's for something and they're not use it for that thing. But you ultimately, you make that risk, you make that choice to say, like, here's the money, and then it goes to them, and then it's their money, and then they can do whatever they want with it, and you just have to swallow it. You have to be prepared. And when you're borrowing people money, you also on some level have to be prepared to not get it back as well. So
I'll ask you that question in another episode, but I have a question about that. So I think that's a very fascinating situation, this money borrowing thing. But let's wrap up the episode. Thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of Sound on Siren. Keitu and I can yap for hours and days and years. So we'll see you on the next episode. Remember, episodes come out every Friday. That's 10 a.m. PST time and 7 p.m. because of daylight shenanigans. 7 p.m. South African time. Follow us on Instagram, Sound on Siren Podcast, on TikTok, Sound on Siren Pod. The TikTok page is actually doing pretty well.
Okay, well.
Yeah, the reach, even the Instagram page is doing well with the views. I'm like, oh, nice guys, nice. Subscribe on YouTube if you're watching us. You can click the notification bell if you want to, you know, a little razzle dazzle. But yeah, follow us, comment, and engage. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.